Y'all saving on Connet? So hello everyone, this is Mayor Shawyn Patterson Howard, and we are here tonight live on Facebook, and we are here with some of our young leaders who have been very involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. And we invited them on tonight because it is the young people who are not Generation Next, but they're Generation Now. And we are so pleasantly pleased and excited at the level of activism and interest and passion that they are showing, the commitment to putting in the work and to organizing in the community that they are doing. And we have them here with you tonight. We're gonna ask everybody if you could just take a moment as we're getting started to please go onto your devices and start a watch party so that we could share this information. We want to share this information with everyone out there. So please, if you could take a moment to start a watch party, I'd really appreciate it. I'm getting mine started. We're on Mayor SPH's page on Facebook, guys. If you want to go to that, and you should see this live there, and you should be able to share it. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Oh, we have a delay, okay. Here we are, start. Okay, so here we go. So tonight we have with us Cynthia Turnquest Jones. Cynthia, if you could just wave. Cynthia has been an activist and involved in the Black Lives Matter movement for many years now, and even before it was Black Lives Matter. She is the godmother of Ramarley Graham. We have Anika Hall, and Anika is a Mount Vernon resident, and she's one of the organizers of the Silence is Violence rally. We have Nico and Madison Brim, and they were also co-organizers for the Silence is Violence rally here that started in Mount Vernon, went through Pelham into New Rochelle. We have Kyra Hassel, who is an activist, and she's been very active in pushing and advancing the movement in Yonkers. And then we also have Rachel, and Rachel was one of the activists who sponsored the Silence is Violence rally here in Mount Vernon that went to New Rochelle. And we have Lil Wah, who we cannot see, but he is here, and Lil Wah is involved in activism in Yonkers, and he is part of the Rough Riders legacy. So we're gonna start out I wanna start out right now really with Nico and Madison. If y'all could activate your camera again. Hi, and you got to unmute yourselves.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to fix something. What's going on?
No problem. So Nico and Madison, can you let me know what made you decide to step forward and become involved in this movement as young people? I mean, you have a lot of things going on. You're working in the industry. There are other things that you're doing. What made you stop some of your other involvement and become involved in the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, I mean, I think that it was just time. I felt like it was necessary. You know, I feel that with everything that was going on in the world, I just wanted to be part of being the difference. I feel like that's, the thing that I've, been preaching and always been saying to a lot of people, let's just be the difference. And, up until this point, I feel like I've kind of been waiting for, something to change this or somebody to change it. But then I had to realize if we all come together, we can just do it ourselves. And it doesn't feel like a give and take with my career, honestly, because I even feel like, being an artist is also, being a public servant with the, music, really. And so, I just felt like it was just another way to channel that.
So you're using your platform as an artist and as a rapper to share this message now as well? Yeah. Or at least to advance it?
Yeah. At least to advance it. I feel, I do a lot of shows in front of, hundreds of people. I'm like, I can get together with my people and speak. It's just a little different, but it's the same kind of feel, performing and, so it all just feels like it all goes together.
All right, thank you. How about you, Madison? What made you get involved? And what are you getting out of it?
For me, activism and community work and social justice were things that I've always been passionate about since I can remember. So there's not a pinpoint time for me that I would say that something made me get involved, because it just felt very natural to who I was. And I just felt compelled to use the knowledge that I had to speak on what's going on in the world today. It's so important for us as young people to be knowledgeable and to understand the world around us. So if me as a young woman can be a voice of that in a simple way, then that's a blessing within itself. And I would say that that's what I get out of it. I get out of it what I put into it, which is service. Transformation is always two ways. So I'm growing and learning with my people, and being able to use my voice to encourage and empower them as well. And that's a blessing within itself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to step up. Sin, I'm gonna just pull you in really quickly. Cynthia, what made you become involved in marching, in rallying, in organizing, and wanting to make a difference in the community? And why are you so excited about our young people who are really becoming leaders of this movement now?
So I can't tell you how many years ago. In school, I noticed that Black history was watered down in the classroom, and so I had the privilege of being assigned to a school in the Bronx, and I was the English teacher, and so I taught Black history from September all the way through June, through literature, and then my student at the time, Ramali Graham, was murdered by NYPD. And then my godson was murdered on the streets of Mount Vernon. And so from 2012 was when I stepped out into the voice. And so I know exactly how every single one of you feel when you finally step up to that podium and you hit that mic. It's a totally different feeling. I used to be a rapper, and so it comes like natural when I get up there on the mic, but it's a different feeling when you are telling individuals and trying to get individuals to understand that Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, the terminology started in 2013. And, I was one of the persons that carried Eric Garner's casket, because I'm also a member of a peace group by Muhammad. And so it started becoming something that I have to do. I don't have any other choice but to do it. But the thing is that with the youth and how strong you are and how much of a difference that I want you to understand that you make. In 1963, they had something called the Children's Marches. So when you finish from this Zoom, I need you to look up the Children's March in 1963. The Civil Rights Act was signed in 1964. It was because of the plethora of children who were arrested in 1963, where individuals was like, you can't do that to children. You can't spray them with hoses. You can't have dogs bite them. Yes, those pictures that you've been looking at were the pictures of youth, of individuals coming from New York and traveling down to what they call Birmingham, Alabama, because they were fighting against police brutality and criminality. And so the youth make a difference. So when you guys were marching down Lincoln Avenue, you have no idea as to how I felt. I don't care who called me, what meeting I had. I was supposed to be at work. I was technically on the clock. That's all right. I was standing on that corner waiting for y'all to come down Lincoln Avenue. And I was like, they're coming right now. And you guys were beyond amazing. And so I have no problem with giving you my torch, because y'all got it. You're on fire. And don't you ever give up. And it takes courage to do what you're doing. And you're different from others. But damn it, being different feels very good. So, hey, I welcome you. Come on in.
Come on in. So I'm just going to say again, we're going to ask people who are watching this, please start a watch party. I'm looking at people in the comments, kind of tagging other people to bring them in. But if you start a watch party, whoever comes up on your page is going to be able to see it. So please start a watch party so we can get people in here. So I'm going to go to Anika. Anika, how are you doing? I want to bring you in. And like I said, you've been active, but you moved from marching to organizing a march. You know, tell us about that. Tell us what prompted you to move and take it to that next level, and where do you look to go from here?
Yeah, it was, I think that the impromptu speech that I gave at the Mount Vernon rally really catapulted me into the organizing space. It was totally unexpected. And after I spoke at the Mount Vernon rally on June 2nd, Madison Brim and I connected. And from there, I think the decision was made that we wanted to do something even bigger, you know, to amplify our voices even louder. So that's how that came about. Where do I go from here? I have no idea. I mean, I'm still working in my job, in my 9 to 5, to bring awareness and to bring some sort of reform, and for the institution that I work for to take actionable initiatives to uplift Black and Brown people. So that's part of my work. But I mean, I have my own like personal things going on. You know, I have a brand that I'm building, Naked Truth Accessories. So I do have other things that I'm juggling. This opportunity just landed in my lap, and I wanted to seize the moment.
I mean, justice is a part of your everyday life. It's not something that you do separate. Like you said, when you're in whatever space you're in, you have an opportunity to lift your voice for justice, whether it's your job, whether it's your church, whether it's your neighborhood, your family, your peers. You know, every space is a place to be able to discuss justice, Black Lives Matter, equity, trans lives matter. I mean, these are the conversations we need to have wherever we go. It's not just about a march or a rally, because you can't march and rally all day, but when you make it a part of the conversation, then it becomes really a part of your life. And so, you know, thank you so much. And I'm coming back to everyone. We just want to kind of give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. Kyra, you're over there in Yonkers. You know, we know that you're also involved in music and in ministry. What caused you to step out and take your involvement in the movement to the next level?
Well, I've been marching with my father in the Black Lives Matter movement since 2013. And I think this time around, though, you know, being an adult, like 2013, I graduated high school. So, and I actually had this conversation. I went to a barbecue yesterday, and it was people that I went to high school with, and I went to a very diverse high school. So I didn't really experience hand-in-hand racism, or, you know, nothing that was prevalent to me, like nothing that I knew, like, oh, you're being racist towards me, until I went to college. So I think this was the first opportunity. I graduated college in 2017, but this was the first like big opportunity where I just said, whatever I can do, like physically, mentally, spiritually, I'm gonna do it, you know. And that means like every day I try to do something. So if I've been marching in Brooklyn, I've been marching in Manhattan, but whenever there's a march in Westchester, I go to, because these are the police that I'm around mostly. And this is my community. But when my body can't take it anymore, I am posting about voting. I am signing petitions. I'm calling my city officials and just trying to figure out what I can do. And that even includes like educating what, you know, in order for us to understand the baton that we're taking from past generations, we have to know what they already did so that we don't repeat history. You know, we have social media, so that is a very powerful tool. So, and it can't really be like self magnifying.
Right.
Like you know, the things that I think what I take from the generations before us that went hard like we're doing, the civil rights movement, even like my parents, what they did, like it wasn't to make their names big. And I think like that's something that we really need to focus on. Every day, do something that's not magnifying who you are, but will magnify the fact that Black lives matter, and that our school system should be teaching and giving education to Black, Latina, Latino, white, whatever, you know, culture or ethnicity you are, the information needs to be true. So I think every day I'm marching or doing whatever to fight those things that I believe in.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kyra. So Lil Wa, we want to bring you in, unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you go. So, you know, let us know. You're 17. I think you're the youngest one on the panel right now. Tell us what made you become involved. What are you getting from this, and where do you feel that we need to go with the movement?
Well, basically, you know, I've been on the sidelines for a little while. I've been watching, but I've been protesting. I was there. I saw you at Fordham, and you know, I had got into an encounter with NYPD in Brooklyn, and I went to go see Danshay Hopkins, if I'm not mistaken, and she's an actor on Power. I went to go see her, and I was just doing the concert. I had to do a performance. I went to leave. My driver wasn't there. I was with my brother and a security guard. We get over to the corner. A cop comes, and he just sees me. He circles around the street for a little while. So I'm like, okay, cool. So my brother told me to go find the Uber because we had called the Uber instead. We went to the Uber, tried to find it. At the corner, cop comes right to where I'm at. And he says, here's where I can see him with all three cars with cops in them, had guns drawn at me. Like, let's see your pockets and everything that's going on. I'm just like, you just stereotype me, like, just because I'm Black. And he checks my pockets. He stopped and frisked me, basically. And he says, okay, you can go about your day. I felt the type of way, because how can you violate my rights on just being a Black man out here doing nothing wrong, trying to find an Uber? So I just felt the type of way, and I'm like, we need to stop this, because this is probably millions and millions of other Black people that's going through this, and probably way worse situations. So, you know, I helped out with my father in situations too, because he's starting the Rough Riders to the Rescue Foundation. So now I'm out there, I'm going out there 24/7, making everything peaceful for everyone in the community, because cops killing people is not really the answer. So that's why I'm out here trying to help out, protest.
I mean, you know, I can't even imagine. Look, my husband's 52, and we lived in DC, and we went to college at Howard and lived on Georgia Avenue when DC was like the crack capital, you know, and the murder capital of the country. And so I used to worry about him just going from campus up to the house, you know, and sometimes he would have to jog down to campus to go to football practice. And I'm like, you are a big Black man jogging down Georgia Avenue in a hoodie. That's some fatalistic behavior, just running and jogging. And I know I felt like that 30 years ago, and we in no way did we have the type of aggression against Black men and Black people by cops then. So now to be young and Black in anywhere, or even older and Black, it's a scary thing. And it doesn't matter your title, your education, your position, because no one sees any of that. They just see a Black face. And so it's scary, it's frustrating, and you just don't always know how to move and operate. And we should not have to double think where we go, how we move, who we're going to see, and whether or not we're going to get home safely at night to our families. So Rachel, I want to bring you on in and let you share with us, you know, how you got involved in the movement and in organizing. You might, if you have something, you might want to turn down your other device because I hear feedback.
Me?
Yeah, okay, there you go.
It's okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I was very active in high school, just with running clubs and NAACP and so forth. And so I'd say for me, activism really started there, and just being able to see the impact that I was able to have on lives when it's kind of a hand-on or, you know, face-to-face experience. And so afterwards, I had the privilege of being able to march. New Rochelle had a Black Lives Matter march in, I believe, 2014 or 2015. And then I spoke at the last protest, and after that, had spoken to Nico and Madison and asked them if there was anything that they were doing, because I'd love to help get involved. And they just said that they were putting something together. So that's how I was able to go ahead and get involved with the one that we just held, coming from Mount Vernon to New Rochelle. But I think really what drives me is just understanding that, you know, in every interaction that you have throughout these protests, you're able to spread information, you're able to help people express themselves. And so as an artist, that to me is extremely important, finding a way to express yourself and do this specifically. You know, it provides other people another way to do so as well. I think that a lot of times we fail to realize how important it can be to just hold one conversation. I mentioned at the rally 2 days ago that, you know, one seed can bring forth a multitude of fruit. And so every time that you're engaging with someone or you're telling them about your experience or so forth, you're able to plant a seed in them. And you don't necessarily know how receptive that they may be or may not be. You don't know when they may be able to use this information that you've given them to spread it to someone else, but to just know that you gave them the opportunity to go ahead and to spread that information elsewhere. I think for me, that's really what drives me, is because I understand how much other people have poured into me just through seeing, you know, it all starts with someone seeing you worthy of carrying that information or of, you know, understanding or taking the time to explain their experience to you. And so I just felt like through that, like it's only right that I go ahead and deem other people worthy of talking to them about my experiences and the things that I've been able to witness and go through, so that they can then go ahead and spread the information and continue to be a part of the movement with us.
So, you know, this round right here was kind of just an introductory round. And now I want us to take this conversation to the next level. I mean, I really want to kick it in gear. We're not here to be polite and sweet and, you know, all of the respectability politics and anything like that. We want to really talk about the issue. We want to talk about the issue because there are tens and hundreds of thousands of people marching across this country right now. People are angry. Last night we saw Rashard Brooks killed in Atlanta. In Los Angeles, there are 2 Black men who are hanging from trees. Who is that? Robert Fuller, found in Palmdale, California, and Malcolm Harsh, and he was found in Victorville, California. Leyland Polanco in Rikers Island, who was a trans woman. They just released the tape, and she was pretty much just allowed to die in prison. And, you know, we're saying Black Lives Matter, but they don't really matter to too many people. And, oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble. Danny's gonna probably freak out. If people don't see us as a whole person, and if all they do is see us as a nigga, then really, what's gonna make a difference? I mean, you know, I'm not here to be politically correct. People see us as niggas, the people who don't care. And so it makes it easy to kill us. Because if we're not a whole person, if we're not a whole American, if we're not worthy of their respect, then it makes it easy. I have seen police take down white people who have been mass murderers, and they knew it, but they treated them with a different level of respect and of care. But here you are with Skittles, or here you are selling Lucy's, or doing different things just in the neighborhood, nothing major. The man was in his car sleeping. Yes, he was a little lit. You could have had him pull over. You could have arrested him for DWI. But you don't when he pointed the taser is nothing that is a fatal, it wasn't going to be able to kill him. And so the cop, literally, you see him on television and he is taking his taser. He put away his taser and he pulled out his gun because the man pointed a taser at him. Now, did he see him as a person, or was he just another nigga?
Right.
I know, you know, people want us to say the N word, the N word, the N word, but people don't, when they see you, they don't see the N word, they see a nigga. That's what they use. They're not using the N word around their table. That's not what they're using. And so, you know, if we're gonna have the conversation, let's have the conversation. Let's really have the conversation. Are we full people in this country? Do people really understand and see us for the contribution that we make, or are we just something to be disposed of? And you know, for all of our white allies and our Hispanic allies and our Indian allies and allies of all different backgrounds, please, this is not directed at you, but this is directed as the people who can't see us and who really don't respect us. So let's have this conversation. Kyra.
This led me to think, yesterday I went to a rally in Hastings, and Hastings is a predominantly white community. And while we were taking the 8-minute, 46 seconds moment of silence, a white man, he probably was in his 20s, drove by and stuck both middle fingers up at us. So after that, they were like, does anyone want to speak? I think it was me and Jamal, what's the guy running for Congress?
Bowman.
Yeah, we were the only 2 Black people there. So I'm like, I have to say something, because Hastings is a small town, and that man wasn't driving like a company car. He was driving his car. So there's a possibility that he's from here. So when I spoke, I said, these people who are killing Black people, these people who are, you know, the man that just stuck his middle finger up at us, those are your children. Like, you raised that. And the only, you know, step towards fixing all of this is you have to stop raising bigots. Like, this is all, you know, I think I saw Erykah Badu say today, like, a chair never does anything to you. You know, like a bed doesn't do anything to you. It's mostly what we have in our minds. And, you know, that's who we are. What you say, what you believe in, it's all in your mind. And yes, our physical actions, you know, they show who we are too, but that is all processed by your motor and cognitive skills. So if you are feeding your white children, if you're feeding your Black children bad things to their cognitive and their mental and their motor skills, that's what's going to come out. So, like, to me, like, even that cop that pulls out the gun when he's being approached with a taser, that's like bringing a gun to a knife fight. Like, that's because in his mind, like you said, they don't see us as full humans. But it's like, I think, like, what I'm trying to preach is, like, all of our white allies right now, and people who aren't, or people who are our allies, like, please raise your children to not be racist, to not be bigots, like, because those are the people who are killing us.
Absolutely. Cynthia had her
So,
hand up, and then Anika.
so one of the things that, so I'm 51. My dad is 86. My dad is from Long Island, Bahamas. And he's been in this country for 68 years. My grandfather is a white man. He has not experienced anything as negative while he was in Long Island until he got here to the United States of America. So I don't think that we will ever curtail, get rid of, or shut down racism. Never. But and this is what I just keep saying, but we can interrupt individuals' pockets.
That's right.
Because it's not the black, it's the green. So we have to make sure that, and I'll make sure that you have my email address so I can give you a list of what needs to happen in regards to legislation. In legislation, the police officer is conducting themselves like how they're not supposed to be conducting themselves. They are to be tried, convicted, jailed, penalized, stripped. And that is what has not been done. So you have individuals like the individuals who choked Eric Gardner, they fired EMS first. They didn't fire the police officer that was choking him. They fired the sergeant first. They didn't fire the police officer that was choking him. And these individuals are still being paid.
And that's
So it's the
we gotta
dollars.
go after the
It's the
pensions.
almighty. It's the almighty dollar.
We gotta go after the
I
pensions.
know racism. I know individuals want to tackle racism. Nah, tackle the money. The only reason why they allowed us to sit wherever we want to sit on the buses is because they boycotted for 381 days. They interrupted the almighty dollar because the majority of individuals who were getting on the buses were black. Who's going to pay for everything? There's no black people that were getting on the buses. They walked.
And I agree. I
And
think
so
those institutions like the police,
We're coming for you, Anika.
the police institution in the United States was built when the 13th Amendment was passed. Like there was a loophole that criminals could be enslaved. And I believe that the police actually formed in America to incriminate us. So even as a police officer, they still are, that's the root of their values. Like, I forget your name, but you talked about the seed. And I feel like that was the seed, the 13th Amendment, to kind of sprout these ugly vines that are literally like taking over our country. Sorry.
And so those vines, sis, those vines, that's what you got to cut off. That's the money right there. Cut the money. Cut their money.
Defund the police.
Anytime,
Yes.
you gotta, that's why they just finished. If you look up the 50A, you have a lot of these officers, when they start doing their criminal activities, and you look at their record is worse than the criminals' record.
Yeah.
They have been killing, looting, stealing. They do not abide by the laws and the rules. And like we say all the time, there's nothing worse. And everyone here knows, if you're in a group and there's somebody in the group who's not doing what they want to do, you don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
So you have good cops that have to work with bad cops. We need to make sure that the bad cops are treated like they are bad cops.
And pushed out of the way.
Cut the
So
rules.
I want to make sure that we pull in Miss Anika. Unmute.
Hey, yeah, there's a lot being said. I don't know, my thoughts are a little bit scattered right now, but I agree with Cynthia in some ways, in that racism may be difficult to eradicate. It may not be eradicated. I would like to remain optimistic and reimagine some sort of, future where racism doesn't exist. But the fact of the matter is, it's a global phenomenon, right? Like that's how how imperialism and all these things, capitalism, like we're talking about, the dollar continues to thrive, is predicated on the notion that, there is other, and that some people don't matter, or, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's going to be extremely hard to eradicate. And one of the things that we can do is to make sure that we're exercising our, consumer dollar in a way that's aligned with our moral compass, right? So only supporting brands that support your people or your community, or are giving back to your community. And another piece of that too, because I think Ms. Shawyn, you had asked, I forgot the question that you had posed originally, but Black people, for the most part, especially in this country, the system, I think, views us as property still, right? And we are objectified in so many ways where, you know, our culture or our music or whatever can be extracted, but obviously our humanity is not, you know, our humanity is not supported, is not seen, it's not validated in this system. So until that happens too, like until Black history is no longer an elective, or until, you know, we are brought to the forefront of these conversations through and through in every facet of every area, and not just, you know, judicial systems and penal systems, but also in education, in healthcare, in all these other sectors, I think, you know, that this is going to continue, that it's going to perpetuate. There needs to be Black executive leadership and radical Black unity across the board. That's how I feel.
Absolutely. I see Rachel and then Wa.
Yes. So to, I guess, answer your question about, you know, do they see us as people, or do they just, you know, you said we're not being politically correct, so do they see us as niggas? And the first thing I think of when I hear people talk about how policemen are not doing their jobs, the first thought I have is they are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, because that is what this system has been. That's what this system was founded on. So when you go back as early as when this country was founded, you know, these laws and these rules and everything that was implemented was created without even taking us into account. And I think it's very, you know, someone could say, okay, but on the opposing side, maybe for someone that is an Italian American, or, you know, maybe Irish or something of that sort, you know, some form of being white, they may say, okay, but this was never, these laws were not created for me either. And so I think what we have to realize is that along all this time, what it has meant to be white has been malleable. It's changed. So yes, at first it was people that came over from Britain or came over from wherever, and there were points where Italians were not included. There were points where Irish were not included in what it meant to be white. But at the end of the day, that has changed. And for us, from the jump, from the second we were brought over here, we were never a part of that group. We were never a part of that group of what it means to be white, what it means to have laws that are specifically created for you. And we're never going to be a part of that. So I think when we talk about what the police are doing, they're doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing from the start. Exactly what the laws that were put in place to, you know, marginalize and keep us oppressed or in a state of less than, you know, we have the 3/5 compromise, and no, we don't necessarily have that right now, but you have to think about the ways that Black men and women are portrayed in the media, you know? And so while I don't always think that someone's consciously saying, I think this person is less than because they're Black, I do think when you're taking in information constantly, even when it's not a conscious thought of, okay, this person is not at the same level of me as me. When you're taking in media and taking in all this content as to where Black people are portrayed as violent, as to where they're portrayed as barbaric or cannot be controlled, that's the thought that they're going to have. And so as a consequence, when people are interacting with us, they may say, oh, I'm not racist, but there are these underlying fears because of what they've seen. And so I mentioned before, when I was speaking with Nico and with Maddie, I said, you know, a lot of times ignorance is the result of a lack of exposure. So a lot of these people, they don't have exposure to our lifestyle or to what it means to be Black. And, you know, I feel like all of these things, you know, they play into how we're treated. So, I mean, to wrap it all up, I say that all to say, you know, in answering your question, no, we are not seen as people because of the way that we take in all of these different all this sensory information about what we are perceived to be. And I think that in dismantling that narrative, it's going to start with what we see in the media. It's going to start with what we're seeing on TV. It's going to start with the conversations that you're having in your household. It's going to start with all of these things that are in turn affecting how people see us. And so this system in itself, I could never understand why people talk so much about abolishing the system in itself, and then it finally hit me like, wow, this was never made for me in the first place. So how can I ever expect it to serve me the way that it's supposed to? And so I think that takes us into the conversations about defunding the police and what exactly does that mean. But I also think that we can't just talk about it. We can't just have these conversations. We have to have different strategies and methods that we can actually implement. And we need to be doing our research so that we can further understand exactly how to strategize and implement these different things that we're looking for.
Absolutely. And I'm going to pull you in a second, Wah. So, you know, one of the things that I have been trying to get people to understand is that policing began in the 1700s as the slave patrols. The slave patrols. So the purpose of the slave patrols were to keep slaves in control, were to capture them if they ran away, were to beat them down and bring them back under subjection if they became powerful and too influential on the plantation or in, you know, the region where they were. And so slave patrols lasted for 150 years. And then after the slave patrols ended, we had the Black Codes. And the Black Codes were there for 3 years. Once again, another list of, you know, this is how we have to manage Black people. This is how they're allowed to move or not allowed to move and operate. That was 3 years. Then after that, you had the rules and the laws of Jim Crow. And that lasted for 80 years. Okay, so now right now we're talking about 153 years of policing in this country built on the oppression, the suppression of Black people and telling us how we move, how we operate, how we function, what we can't do, making sure that we don't get out of our place. It's like, stay in line. And that's what this is about. Like, stay in line, stay in your place. Who do you think you are? You don't have rights. You can't move. You're not supposed to have a nice car moving and throughout this community. How did you get that car? Are you a drug dealer? Is someone in your family a drug dealer? Oh, no, it can't be because your parents have money and they do well, or because you work, you know. So we're seen as a suspect before we're seen as a full person. And that's a problem. And even after Jim Crow ended, you know, that's only just been 50 some odd years ago. But the culture was already so rooted and grounded that you don't necessarily have to, you know, they said nothing beats strategy better than culture. And so 150 years, 3 years, 80 years, like I said, that's already what, 233 years, I think, if I calculated right in my head really quickly. And so that culture of policing was very prominent. So how do you reverse 233 years of policing in this country in 50 some odd years? It's been impossible. And so, you know, and oftentimes policing is something that's been passed down from generation to generation in families. And yes, so it's not just policing, it's structural racism. You know, where do they get to live? Who do we give loans to? How do we redline districts and make sure that they don't get loans for housing? Public housing, the people who lived in public housing, in Mount Vernon public housing, in Yonkers public housing, Schlobaum was white people. It was white. It was white. And the whole organization of it really focused on making sure that it was temporary housing to help move them on their way. So they weren't even allowed to hang pictures in the apartment because they wanted you to understand that you had to maintain a temporary mindset because you had to move to the next level. Now we sit here and the best thing you could do is pass down your Section 8 voucher from one generation to another and pass down your public housing, you know, let your kids take over your public housing. And so, like, you can't see my shirt, but it says winner mindset. It says winner mindset. And so, you know, we have to change the mindsets and the culture of the communities that we live in. We have to deal with the banks who are not giving loans or who are giving high loans. We have to deal with the institutions who don't want to see people advance, but we also have to deal with our mindsets. Because Anika asked me a question. She said, why in a community where 75% of the people are Black is our police department not 75%? Because you can't get people to take the test. People won't take the test. In Mount Vernon, you can't get a lot of them to take the test in Yonkers. I've inherited a police department where we have a lot of incredible Black officers, but guess what they haven't done once they got there? They haven't taken the sergeant's test. So you can't even get them to a place to promote them to be supervisors. And if you haven't taken the sergeant's test, then you can't take the lieutenant's test. You can't take the captain's test. So they're not in position to be reached even for supervisory positions. They're just on the front lines. So we have to get people, the only way you're going to be able to change it, we can change legislation and laws, but if we don't get in and change it from the inside, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we have to work with the Guardians Association and get our young Black men and women trained and prepared to take the police exams, so that when the police exams come up, they're not only taking the exams and they're testing, but they're scoring at a high enough level to be reached. And then when you get into the police department, we need to make sure that you're taking the promotional exams like the sergeant. You have to be ready to set out your career path, because if you're not in position, if we just stay on the front lines and on the low levels of the police department, and we don't put ourselves in position to change policy, policy's not going to change. And a lot of people don't want leadership, but if we are not willing to take on leadership roles, then we will never be in position to change laws and to make the rules. And we have to do it. Everything can't be done from outside of an organization. Sometimes the only way you got to change it and flip it is go in there and do the work to change it and flip it. So I'm sorry for talking so long. Why? Can you come on in? Because I know that you had put your hand up. You had a comment.
It's so fun. I actually want to know if I could.
Nico?
Yeah. Just to with what you were saying with, the police force and getting people involved in the police force, for me personally, I wonder about that, because like you said, it's built upon slave patrol and it's built on so much. And, for me as an African-American man, the idea of me continuously pushing to be in that rank, and pushing to go further and further, knowing that I'm part of, the systemic oppression in a major way that's really taking Black and brown bodies off the street, that's a very hard position, I feel like, to put yourself in. And aside from, I also feel that with it being rooted in so much, and seeing what Minneapolis, I think they did over in Minnesota, where they actually dismantled the police department. I think that, not saying that everybody needs to get dismantled, but I think that if it's rooted in something that's so against your people, it's very hard to assimilate into a culture like that, and especially with what's going on now. I feel more than ever we'll experience a divide with Black men coming into the police force. But I think it's so hard for me to just get involved in that. I feel like it's very hard for our young men, because we see it. I see it and what it is, and it's like, I think with legislations and, potentially with people having to live in the communities for X amount of time before policing them. And I feel like there are other ways we could go about it to help ensure, but I think it's one of those things where we got to take it out from the root.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I definitely think that, we need to absolutely divorce ourselves and completely reimagine. Like, this reform only goes but so far, especially if this system is built upon, like we said, these oppressive and, structural violence ideologies, white supremacist ideologies. Like, we have to divorce ourselves, because even reforming within that system is only going to fuel, like, it's only going to manifest in a different way. That's what the new Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander talks about, like how these systems sort of adapt and shape shift according to what's going on. And I feel like, and even Angela Davis had mentioned, like, you cannot say you're protecting the people through violence. Like, violence cannot be a safeguard for safety. Like, it doesn't make sense. So we have to divorce ourselves. That's what I think. And as radical as that sounds, we have to be creative and intentional about finding new avenues. Forget trying to reimagine what's already there. Like, nah, we need to swipe the slate clean, or whatever that looks like, and start from scratch. That's how I feel.
So I have a comment here. We have a young woman saying, changing mindsets is great, but working with various age groups need to occur, because a lot of young people have inherited trauma. This in itself impacts growth, mental, physical, and emotional growth. I mean, trauma is something that we've been experiencing in our community since we've been here, and it's not going to go away. And so, when you have young people who are suffering at home and they're suffering at school, and then they go out into the community and they're suffering at the hands of people in their neighborhood, or at the hands of police, it's hard to help people continue to hope. How do y'all maintain your hope? How do you as a generation maintain your hope? Why? How do you maintain your hope? Like you said, before the age of 17, you were stopped, guns drawn on you by police just for waiting for an Uber in New York City.
Exactly. I mean, basically with me is I have a team structured around me that actually, builds me up. Cause the police out here, they show no love to nobody. So at first I really want to get into what Ms. Jones was saying about the US dollar, the money.
Go ahead.
Us Black people spend at least $1.2 trillion, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to build that money and put it in community wealth with us. Because putting it to the white people, they're just going to take it and do their own thing with it. They're not going to care because they're going to feel it most. Like Miss Cynthia said, the money is always going to be the root of all evil. And they're going to feel that the most. So us working together as a Black community is going to hurt them in a big way. And, my father was doing the foundation like I was talking about. So he's basically working on the clock 24/7, helping out like an interrupter. That's what Governor Cuomo was doing. He passed the law this recently. And he wanted to get interrupters involved because you see Rashad Brooks, if I'm not, that's his name, Rashad Brooks, we could have prevented that if it was interrupters before that. You know what I'm saying? And for have a cop go there, bring a gun and shoot him, we could have easily, as Rough Rider to the Rescue people, come up to him. Okay, we see that he's intoxicated. We take his keys, we tell him, we bring him home, give the keys to his, we could have easily avoided that whole situation. And that wasn't necessary. So we didn't get to, you know what I'm saying? We didn't get to actually hold on, I messed up. Hold on.
It's all right.
Thinking about it. We didn't get to actually help him out in that situation because we're just passing a thing now and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
So he wanted to say we didn't get a chance to interrupt.
Basically.
You continue on what you're saying. We have to interrupt. So that means that we have to interrupt in our communities as well. Understand what I'm saying? So this what we are doing, it takes courage.
It does.
It takes courage to step up to somebody and say, yo, you doing the wrong thing, my brother. It takes courage to step out and be the person, you standing there, you're watching everybody and nobody is saying anything. And then you say, hey, yo, what's up, man? You're doing the wrong thing. Whether it's you selling dope on the block, whether it's you sex trafficking. The weed man is one of the biggest sex traffickers. The sex trafficking is not happening down the block with the white man. The sex trafficking is happening right there in the hood, right? The projects, right? It takes courage to do this. It takes courage to go out there and stand up with a sign and say F to the police. It takes courage to make a record. The NWA. Niggas with attitudes. It takes courage to do this. It takes courage to interrupt. And that's what we need to do right now. Now is the time. Now is the time to interrupt. Whether we're going to interrupt education needs to be interrupted like a mother. Everybody know that in this room right here. Mm-hmm. You need to interrupt education because education ain't done us nothing this far.
And it's supposed to be the great equalizer. But if you don't have a quality educational system and we're just warehousing our children and we're just doing social promotions, right, and we're allowing teachers who have minimal qualifications to come into our classes and teach people
and have no love for us.
And who don't have love for us. And if we celebrate a 2% or a 3% or a 5% increase in scores when only 20% of the kids are passing, and now we want to celebrate that 25% of the kids are passing, I mean, where are our expectations? Our expectations are too low. See, the Mount Vernon school system, look, the school system here in Mount Vernon, their budget is what, $250 million a year, about two. Okay, so the city school district's budget here at Mount Vernon is about $250 million a year to educate 8,000 children. Okay, 8,000 children. The city of Mount Vernon's budget to serve 100,000 people is at $115 million. And that means everything from policing to fire to cleaning the streets to, operating city hall to running every different department, 20 some odd departments. So the school district's budget is 2.5 times the size of the city budget to run a city. So we have to make sure if we're spending 60% of our tax dollars on education, that we have a world-class system. And so we can't be excited about the fact that, our children's reading scores are going up 2% and 3%. We need to see transformation in education. I'm excited about the performing arts school. I'm excited about having a good basketball team. I'm excited about the STEAM Academy. But what I will really be excited about is when I see the number of our young people who are proficient in math and science and English rising at levels, that are and passing at levels that are similar to Scarsdale and to Rye and to other communities. No, they are not our standard, but that is the standard in which we have to reach in order for our young people to truly be competitive in this country. This is what we need to see, and this is what we need to demand. And I think sometimes our expectations are just too low, and we give people a pass, and we cannot give a pass. And so we need you to show up at meetings, and we need you to demand, and we need you to ask questions. And I sit here as the mayor, right? And people are very critical about the fact that I speak out about these things. They're critical about the fact that I'm sure I have a Black Lives Matter behind me, or that I'm marching and I'm rallying. But we want better housing. We want better education. We want a better police department. We want to make sure that we're providing good city services. There's not just one thing that we need to work on. There are 20 things that we need to work on. And there's no need for me to sit in this seat if I'm going to be apologetic and scared to do it. Yes, it takes courage. Yes, it takes courage. And so we're not asking you to step up with any more courage than we have to do, because it's not easier at 50, because sometimes in your 50s, you have more to lose. You have a career. And so that's why the voices need to be lifted definitely by the young people, and know that we are here to support you. We are here for it. We are absolutely here for it, because we do not want to see another generation of leaders lost in our local communities because people our age can't see you, because people our age are intimidated or want you to sit in your place. You don't have a place. Your place is on the front line. Your place is leading. Your place is lifting up your voice. Our place is to create a platform for you to lead and provide you with the support, the encouragement, the guidance, and the technical assistance that you need to help transform this community. Anika?
Someone has a question. Rachel, I want to let you talk, but someone has a question about the school system. They want to know, is there any city oversight for our school system?
There is no city oversight for the school system. The school system is totally separate from the city. The big five in the state of New York have oversight of the school system. That's Yonkers, Buffalo, Albany, Rochester, and Syracuse. So those are the 5 communities in New York City. Those are the 5 communities in the state of New York that have oversight of their school district. We don't have oversight as the city of the school district at all. And, that's why we held the candidates forum, and we gave the candidates a platform, because at least we want the people in the community to see who the candidates are and who they vote for. The level of participation in the school district elections, like I said, where the budget is 2.5 the times that of the city, is horrible. It's horrible. And you can't, I met people today at a bike ride, and someone was like, that's your mayor? And they were like, oh, that's my mayor. Hi, mayor. Yeah, and I'm sure there's like 50% of the people in this community or more who couldn't name 3 people who are on the school board. But 60% of our tax dollars go to the school district. So we have to become more educated and aware of who's running the community, how money is being allocated, and what the impact and the outcomes of tax dollars being spent and how that's working. So Rachel?
Yes. Okay, I just want to make sure it was off. I just wanted to ask, so beyond protesting and organizing in this way, what are things that you think that we can do to, remain active? I mean, anyone can answer this question, but, being that we have so many spots that we need to tackle, whether it be through our system, education, or wherever it may be, like, what are actual and tangible, I guess, calls of action that we can participate in to make sure that we are actually fulfilling and reaching the change that we want to see?
Kyra, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, I actually just left a meeting like right before this, and it was a group of millennials and Gen Z and Yonkers that we came together with that question, like, what now? Like, marching is wonderful, voting is going to be amazing, but like, what actual change can we make? And we all agreed that within like the biggest change we can make, even as artists, I'm not a global artist yet, but I'm from Yonkers, and that's where you can influence right now. So it's, to me, it's like doing the research of what you want and what your experience, what have you experienced? Because my experience isn't the same as another millennial or Gen Z person that was in the meeting today, but we all have different experiences, and some people have similar experiences. So if you find a resolution or come up with a resolution of something that you've experienced and tackle it in your city, you never know, it can build to, and talking about it, talking with other intellects who can take your idea and talk it out with you. Someone said today that a lot of the times we tell kids, like, stop, listen, you need to listen to me, but we never hear what they think about things. And with social media, we kind of take away the conversation, which this is beautiful. Like, we're having a conversation, and some of the kids don't think as well. And that's having a conversation with yourself. So like thinking and talking out loud on ways that we all have ideas of how to end racism, and who knows, your idea could be the thing that actually ends it. But start in your city, because we don't have the global reach yet. So that would be my answer of like, what's next? Figure out what you need, what your friends need, and tackle that.
And change is local.
Yeah.
Is local.
I also would like to add to what everyone has said. I think that first, to start off, we understand that we are dealing with a global system of white oppression. It's not just happening here in America. It's not just happening here in New York. It's happening everywhere. And when we hear a historical civil rights leader, Angela Davis, talking about abolishing the system, we're talking about ending the oppression that's happening on a global scale to Black people and people everywhere. I think Miss Tamika Mallory captured it perfectly when she said America is the looters. We're going into these countries and we're taking their resources. We have taken Black people from their land and have them come here and work for us. So let's be clear on the system that we're serving. And when we're talking to the police, especially my Black officers, I want you to understand why your intention may be to protect and serve. The system that you're serving is inherently violent. And it looks to commit treacherous acts against the Black community and to continue to, like you said, Madam Mayor, to control the movements of the Black community. So it is much bigger than just, a few bad cops. It is the whole entire system. And I think that it will take steps to get there, but we have the power to point our people in the positive and right direction and seeing it as a whole thing. Things will not go back to normal. You want to know why? Because they were never meant to be this way. And as soon as we step up and realize what we can do, because we're all leaders, every single person, even the people that are here watching this right now, you have the power to lead within your community. And that is exactly what we wanted to capture with Silence is Violence. Anybody can step up and do it. I met Anika at the City Hall protest. We're both from the same city and happened to not know each other, but came together and made something incredible happen. So it's up to us. If it's meant to be, it is up to me. So that's the first thing. I feel like realizing that and understanding that the system you're going against, that's why know what they can do right now. The thing that you can do right now is to figure out what your city needs and how you can fulfill those needs without involving the system. The people that are going to give you the money are still the people that are oppressing you. And with all due respect, the people who work and service the system are still the people that are oppressing you because of how the system is set up. So what is it that we can do as a people to empower our people? It looks like it looks like what the Black Panthers did, creating the free breakfast program. It looks like getting these young mothers the childcare they need. It looks like refining the education system within Mount Vernon. All of my cousins went through this education system, so I know the troubles that it has. Going through to make it impactful. How are we going to adjust to meet the needs of our people? And let's not forget, just a year ago, the city of Mount Vernon was being lied to. My uncle works for the sanitation system, and I understand that they don't necessarily have the resources they need or that they didn't. So it's about really seeing what the needs of the community are. Who are we going to be and how are we going to step up to fulfill those needs? It's outside of the government. We can't keep looking for other people to do what it is that we can do right now and today. I handed out over $1,000 worth of books at the protest that we organized together. You know why? Because I believe in education and empowering the minds of the youth. That's something that you can do tangibly. Black people, we have a $1.3 trillion spending power. It's time to put that money back into the community. It's time to put that money back into the pockets of Black people, because when you do that, it affects you too. The blessing comes back to you too. So I think it's about realizing that it's a bigger conversation at hand. And if they don't see us as people, it don't matter, because they're going to feel us as people. You feel me? They're going to feel us if we continue in the way in which we are moving. So that's all I wanted to say.
That's why I said, come on, y'all, come on in here. You have a platform. We want to have the real conversation. We don't want to sit back and just tiptoe around this issue. This is our future. This is your future. I have less of a future in front of me. Y'all have many, many years in front of you, and we want to see how is it going to be different for you and for your children. That's important. That's important. So I mean, this is your platform. Come on, y'all, use it. Don't sit back and be shy. Bring it.
No, absolutely, Madison, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. I think that a lot of this is multi-layered, but like trying to get them, the other, to see our humanity, it might be a moot point. Like we already said, all of this white supremacist ideology is pervasive through every facet of American everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it might not be eradicated. So we just need to move how we move, divorce ourselves, rebuild our schools, rebuild our curriculum. And even aside from like a municipal role, like a role in the city, like what's happening at your job? Like what's happening at the place where you work? Like what's happening at your school, if you're in college or whatever? Like what are your administrators at that school saying? You know what I mean? Can you talk to them? At my job, I'm talking to the diversity and inclusion offices. Like what steps are y'all taking to really educate, uplift, and empower Black people in this institution and outside of it? And that's not something that I needed to be involved in here in Mount Vernon. Like that's something that I go into my 9 to 5 and I feel like I'm not seen, I'm not heard. Like my job is silent in the wake of all that's going on. So I had to speak up and be like, hold on, why y'all silent? Like I gotta pretend and perform for my peers to do y'all job, but y'all don't see me? I'm like, no, you're gonna see me. So then I came knocking like, you know, we need to have a conversation. Okay, now after this conversation, these are the actionable steps that I need this institution to take. I need you to leverage your platform. I need you to leverage your resources. I need you to leverage your dollar. You know what I'm saying? My job has a huge endowment. We receive so much money. We always building new sites here, there, and everywhere, but none of the conversation is ever about Black people and how Black women, you know, have a higher rate of being diagnosed for whatever, you know, we're treating at my institution. Like, none of that is done. So I think just like looking to your neighbor or looking to where you are currently and seeing like what your passion is and how you can truly optimize in your situation. You know, none of us are truly helpless. How can you optimize in your current space? How can you use your current platform, your current connections to dismantle these systems? Because all of it needs to be dismantled from top to bottom.
So I just want to tell you guys that I remember when O.J. Simpson was acquitted, and it was a quiet day at the job. Quiet. And everyone were in their offices, and myself and an Omega, you know, Omega Psi Phi is our brothers. We were in the office together with the radio, like we were some slaves on the slave ship, whispering and listening, right? When they said that he was found not guilty, me and him, we were cheering and barking up and down the aisle, up and down, knocking on the doors like, yo, did you hear that? Did you hear that? So at work, right? When I walk into the job with my Dear Black Man, I Love You t-shirt, I want them to know that I love my Black people. And on my watch, you're not going to do them wrong. So I applaud Anika for her stepping out. And when you're at work and letting individuals know, when you're on the mic, Nico, and you're doing your and you're as an artist and letting individuals know, and Little Wah, when you let individuals know that you love your Black people, and on your watch, you won't create some kind of crazy ass commercial or not include us the proper way, they will respect you. Trust me. Now, some individuals will get rid of you. It's happened to me plenty of times, but that does not stop me. And individuals know, because they call me TJ. When TJ come into the educational building, it's all about those Black and brown children inside that building. And you're not going to do any children wrong up in here. Understand? So when I walk in there with the Central Park 5 faces on my shirt, when I walk in there with the let Black girls rock, when I walk in there with Black Lives Live, they know that, listen, either we do it right or this lady right here is going to come up in here and raise holy hell. And you have to continue doing that through your passion. You have to keep saying, when I walked in with my Dear Black Man, I Love You t-shirt, and I got it made, I just came from the Bahamas, and I had to go to Eric Gardner's funeral. So I got the man to embroidered, and I walked into work, and there were some individuals who said, what about like a Dear White Man shirt?
That's not what I'm talking about today.
I said nothing. I waited till the meeting was over. And when the meeting was over, I said, I need to talk to y'all about my shirt. Because the first Black man I ever loved is a Black man. And that's my father. And he has 17 brothers. So I was raised by 18 Black men. So the love that I have for a Black man, of course I love my mother. I love my mother, but I need, because the Black man is hated just as much as the Black woman, because the Black woman makes the Black man. And so you have to let them know, and you stand tall, every single last one of you. I know, I might be a little bit too much, but I don't think so. Not at all.
Not at all.
Never too much in this thing. Like
Never too much.
there's exactly no such thing.
Yes, Kyra's over there. She's like snapping it up. I mean, and you know, it's just important. We can't be apologetic about it. We're talking about Black lives, and all lives will not matter in this country until Black lives matter. And if our lives never matter to them, it has to matter to us. We have to see ourselves as full people. We have to respect ourselves, and we have to demand respect from those who don't want to respect us. You know, we're not apologizing and we're not asking for it anymore. We must demand it. We must demand it. And so some people ask me questions about why I see, you know, y'all are having chat over here. So when it comes to Black history being taught in the schools, then what you need to do is go to the school board meetings. And you need to demand, you need to go look up on the internet and say, when are the school board meetings? And now I think they have them in Zoom. And you need to attend those meetings and say, why is it in a community like ours that we are not teaching Black history, and not just an elective for somebody in 11th grade, not just an elective, taking Black history with Dr. Sproul at Mount Vernon High School, and going to Africa with Dr. Sproul and my classmates from Mount Vernon High School and New Rochelle High School changed my life. It changed my life. I mean, I always knew I was Black, and my family taught me Black history and gave me Black pride. But being able to sit in that class and have him break down our history the way he broke it down, and then to prepare us, we didn't just go to Africa. He gave us 6 months worth of classes in the evening at the Akbar to prepare us for our trip. So when we went over there, we were already culturally immersed, and we were able to have an amazing time. And so, you know, those are the type of exchange programs. They go to France, they go to Italy, you know, they go to the European places all the time, because you are taught those languages in school. But we have to still make sure that we are taking our young people to Africa and exposing them to Africa, because there are a lot of incredible things that are happening over there. And when you really understand who you are, and you really understand where you come from, and you really understand that you're royalty, you're not going to allow people to treat you any old way. We have to understand who we are, the strength of who we are, the foundation of where we come from, and the fact that they love us. When we go back over there, they love to see us. They embrace us. They're happy to see us come back. And so we have to stop this separation. Oh, I'm African and you're Caribbean and you're Haitian. We have allowed people to divide us based on where we were dropped off on the boat. And we have to stop that. We have to come back. We have to understand that we are full Black diaspora and learn how to work together and strengthen it. We've allowed people to divide us. And Cynthia, what do you always say? You can't divide, you can't conquer, but you can't divide. But we've allowed people to divide us over hair and complexion and texture of hair, and you know, what kind of seasonings you use in your food and what type of music you listen to. We got to stop allowing people to divide us, because when we really understand who we are and we come together, we're powerful beyond measure. Kyra. Kyra?
Sorry. I just wanted to ask of something from the older generation, of leaders and city officials and people who are running our town. I ask that you put your information of why we should vote for you on platforms that we use. You know, a lot of my friends don't use Facebook as much as they use Instagram. So like, I want to be informed. Some of the websites are outdated, like with your information, like just catch up to the technology so that we are informed, and I feel like a lot of the people that, you know, may be ignorant in my generation is because it's hard for them to find information, and it's hard for them to find the information that's, you know, things that are worth it, are you have to dig for it. But I think like it's coming to a point where like we have to kind of put the information dead in everyone's face, so that just like the video of George Floyd that day, like we were all scrolling down and we saw it. That information was available, and that's why so many people rose up together for this movement. And if, you know, you want us to vote for you, you want us to believe in what you can do for us, I think just putting it on platforms, and using kind of like sticking with the time. Like, this is beautiful that you're doing alive with us, because it's with the time. And I think that's so important, just moving with the time.
Absolutely. So Danny and Malcolm, who are on here, but they're not shown as panelists. Malcolm is my special assistant and he's 29, and Danny is the communications director. And what are you, 28, 29, Danny? So make sure that the Instagram page and the website are popping so that your peers can find the information, because my communications team are all under the age of 30. And so we
Yes,
know
and that was from Mayor Spano too. So Mayor Spano.
But I'm gonna tell you, that's what made the difference when I was running. When I was running for mayor, I didn't have a big team. I had very, very few people. I was running against an incumbent mayor, a city council president, a city council person, a 4-time former mayor, and the Democratic City Committee person. And there were like 5 of us. And we put together a video at like 2 o'clock in the morning and released it in the morning. And people were like, oh, you must have known weeks and months ago that you were running. No, I didn't. I had about 5 people under the age of 30 who were willing to dig and to push, who asked me to run and who believed in me. We didn't have a big team. We didn't have a big crew, but I had some young people who believed in me and believed that I would make a difference. And so please understand and know that I am where I am right now, not because of people over the age of 30 for the most part, but because of young leaders like yourself, who were the ones who encouraged me to run, and who the ones, Malcolm, who's now being shown, wave your hand, Malcolm. Malcolm was working for the county of Westchester. He was working for the county, and I was not the nominee, but he went to the Democratic City Committee meeting that night and he nominated me. He nominated me. He could have lost his job. He could have been isolated and blacklisted from all political circles from henceforth and forevermore. But because he had courage, and then he asked his aunt, who was a district leader, he got her out of her bed. He said, I need you to second the motion, because we're going to walk into a room of people who are not going to be friendly to this idea. And we went in with 2 votes. We walked out with 4. But they said, I don't care that you got 4 out of 150 votes of people. You're going to win this, and we're going to make sure that you win this. And so that is what, I'm committed to youth development. I'm committed to the development of young leaders, because I don't have any desire to sit in this seat more than 2 terms. And I am looking right now. We are looking right now. Lisa Copeland just left my office. We're always looking around us and say, who's next? Who's now? We want to make sure that we're developing you now, that you understand, how the city council work, how the school board works, how different commissioners work, how city government and operations work. If you have a leader who's looking to maintain their power, then they're not a leader, because leaders create and nurture other leaders, and that is what we're looking to do. I can't move to my next level until I know that we have people who are ready to take my place. So our job, and we are very committed to this job, is making sure that y'all learn and grow and thrive. We had people who invested in us and they made us fat with experience and with passion, but then they didn't want to move to the side and give us a place at the table. They just wanted us to continue to work and advance them, but not provide an opportunity and a platform for us to step in position. And we've been told over it, stay in your place. Well, I'm supposed to stay in my place until I'm 70. And so we are asking you to please come into the circle. Please bring your ideas and help us bring our experience together so that we can prepare y'all and do whatever we need to do to support your next move. And so that you could also teach us, because the only way that we can continue to grow is if we learn from each other. It's not just a one-way thing. It's back and forth. Hold on, Rachel.
What I like is that what I like is that she said that I have to sit with you. I love to sit with you. Black Westchester Magazine did an article, and I gave a little quote about Nico. But when I'm currently running for a school board, and I've been on Facebook, IG. My son go on Snapchat for me. I was doing TikTok till I found out that TikTok give a lot of money to the current president of the United States. So won't be no talk ticking with me or TikToking with me.
Shut it down. Right? If we don't get it, shut it down, right?
Us as well.
And I hit Twitter. And so the only reason why I know that is because I listen to you guys. That's the only reason. Like I ask my son, show me everything. Or if I'm in school, I sit down with the students. I'd be like, yo, what you looking at right now? You know, some people may feel as though that they should take the cell phone away from them. I don't believe in that. Because there's a student that was sitting there. I said, what you on IG? She said, yeah, I'm looking at some dolphins right now. And her and I chilled out and watched the dolphins. Right. So I appreciate you telling me that I need to make sure that I get to you the way that I have to meet you
where we
you
are.
at.
And 1 minute
Yeah.
videos, like even what you just said, like that could reach a whole plethora of young adults on social media. Like we just want to know that you see us and that the information you're giving us is because you care about us. So we don't want to know what you need from us all the time. Like, what are you giving us? Like, it's a relationship. And like this conversation right now, like I'm gonna remember it. And what you're telling me out of your mouth, I'm going to remember. And when I see you, I'm going to thank you for the information that everyone here has given me. So I feel like if you say those things, even in a 1 minute IG video or something, like people save that and they can watch it over and over and over and over. Like all the facts that y'all were dropping today, I'm just saying, put it where we could see it.
Thank you.
Real quick.
Nico?
Yeah, so I agree that they should meet us where we're at, but I also got to keep it real. We as a younger generation, we have to really seek this information. And there's nothing that's hard about getting information from your phone, where you can go on Google and you can look things up. We are talking to two people that have had to walk to libraries. We are talking to two people that have to sit here and really carve out time in their lives just to be able to be in the presence of certain information. And we are blessed to have this information with us day in and day out on a 24/7 basis. So it's as much as we want them to meet us where we at, we have to understand what we're valuing, right? And right now, what you're talking to me about is we're talking about the algorithm and how we live a life inside of an algorithm, and they got to meet us there. We cannot be slaves to this algorithm. We got to be seeking the information and the knowledge wherever it may be. And if it is accessible on our phones, we got to really push each other to do that. And that's like, really just keeping it real. We got to be willing to go above and beyond to seek this knowledge, because it's not going to be given to us. And even when we're talking with politicians and things of that nature, for us to really even understand it, is we have to understand the value and the education of knowing ourselves as African-American people and people of that African diaspora. But there's so much more that goes into it, that is, instead of them just coming to us and us staying where we're at.
Yeah.
It is something that from the generations prior to us and the generation that we are in right now, we all have to shift on how we're going about giving and receiving and searching for information. And I think that,
like you're a leader, Sorry not to cut you off.
Yeah.
You're a leader. I'm a leader. We're gonna dig for the information. But the people that we're leading, you and I also, including the generation before us, has to put that information so that they can get it. They're not digging. You and I are. That's our responsibility.
I kind of wanted to touch in, now that we're talking about social media and that kind of thing, I think it's very important that we realize, like, social media is not just social media. This time that we spend on it, we spend so much time on social media. I mean, you look at the average teenager, they're spending hours on social media per day. And I always, like, your time is money. The resources that you're giving into, the websites that you're clicking to look for this information, and this is where it's really going to come in, is don't just look for information and don't just do your research, but be intentional with where you are doing your research at. Because we have people in our own cities that go ahead and that have platforms and that put out information, but they're not putting out information in a way that supports the narrative of our lives or the messages that we're trying to push. Mm-hmm. So don't just look for information, but be intentional in the ones that you interact with. Don't go giving clicks to these websites that, you don't need to be interacting with them, commenting. clicking on their website, interacting with their ads, because that's money in their pocket. All of this is intertwined. It's a connection. So every time that you're interacting with something, you're putting money into that person's pocket. So be intentional about what you're taking in and be intentional about what you're putting out. Understand that no matter how many followers that you have, whether it's 300, 1,000, 5,000, more than that, you have a platform and you are able to go ahead, do your research, and then educate another person. Don't just take it and say it's just social media, because the same way that we know all of these details, we know about what's going on in Atlanta, we knew about those riots at the same time they were happening. That's because it's not just social media. This information is traveling so quick. So you need to be intentional about what you're doing, what you're interacting with. And you can't, yes, you just can't keep continuing to push that narrative that it's just social media. I think that all of us, we have these platforms, we have this opportunity to spread the message around, we have all these passions. So even if, you're not someone that's into the sciences or into math, like whatever your passion is, it's just as important. Don't let anyone tell you that because you are an artist or because you make music or you're into photography, these are all methods of expression and these are all catalysts to help push these messages forward. So you need to use them and you need to, once again, be intentional. And as you're being intentional, the word is going to get around. Something I said to one of the reporters, I said, if you're not going to feel us, because we want them to feel our pain. We want them to understand what we're going through. So if you're not going to feel us, you're going to hear us. If you're not going to hear us, you're going to see us. So you're going to see when I have Black Lives Matter on my t-shirt. That's fashion. That's a form of expression. These are all forms of art. So keep pushing your art, keep using your platform the way that you need to be. Don't think that your impact is minuscule. Don't think that you are not doing enough or that you don't have a platform to do enough, because all of the youth that we have on this call right now, we're all regular people. So for the people watching, I want you guys to know, our mayor, the mayor Shawyn, she mentioned she had people believing in her, and we have people believing in us. What we're doing is not something that is not feasible or that the person next to us cannot do. But you need to have people believing in you. You need to believe in yourself. We are believing in you. And we know that everything that we're doing are things that you can do with us. They are things that you can go ahead and you can identify what it is that you love, what it is that you're passionate about, and find a way. But don't ever convince yourself. You do yourself a disservice when you convince yourself that you're not playing a big enough part because of what it is that you love, and you feel that you can't find a way to display that or to make a large enough movement. I'm going to go back to, it starts with a seed. So you plant that seed, you plant the seed that you have, whatever it is, whatever form of art, whatever you're into, science, whatever it is, you plant that seed. You don't know who it's going to get to, who it's going to motivate. It's all a chain. So, just believe in each other and believe in yourself. I kind of just want to finish with that.
Can I say one more thing? I know
Yes.
to wrap up. Rachel, to piggyback off of that, I spoke with some people after the Silence is Violence march, and pretty much like this person was like, yeah, it was great, but they had the but. I'm not even going to shine light on the but. But I was like, look, I'm not focused on the deficit. I'm focusing on what was there, who showed up, who supported. I'm focusing on, sparking the seed, planting the seed. I was like, if 10 people would have came out, you feel me? And one person there would have walked away feeling differently, feeling empowered, feeling like they're ready to make the change. Like, that is the only thing that we're in this for. And I was like, so I'm not worried about who didn't show. I'm worrying about who did and what they took away. And another thing is, like, it's one thing to want to network vertically, right? And think about who the head is and who's at the top. But sometimes we also need to talk to who's next to us, right? Who's in our circle? Who's right next to me? My best friend is a hairstylist. How can she and I come together? And you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways, like Rachel said, graphics, art, science, media, social strategy, whatever the case may be, to really make sure that we are amplifying our voices intentionally. Because by doing that in and of itself is an act of resistance. Our Blackness and whatever we do with that Blackness is an act of resistance. So we need to push forward with that.
I'm just excited. And, so we're getting ready to wrap up. But one thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that we are keeping all of you who are on here connected. But then also, there was a rally in Pelham yesterday that was put on by Deborah Stern, who is the head of Imani Charter School here, her children. There was a rally in Scarsdale, and that was put on by young people. The rallies and the marches are being put on, are being done by young people like yourself. And so I would love to see all of y'all from across Westchester to connect and really do something big, on a full scale here in Westchester. Y'all are amazing. And I just want you to know that your collective strength is going to be what is taking us in this county to the next level. And so I'm glad that y'all are here. We need you. Malcolm, you are enjoying that pick. we need you. We love you. We are here to support and advance and elevate your platform and work with you in however we can be supportive. And that's not political. That's just real. Because, if it's political, I don't have time for it. But if it's going to make real change, we can always make time, because it's not like we have time, but for things that are important to you, you make time. So I'm ready to make time to support whatever it is that, y'all want to do to advance this work.
So I want to give my phone number.
You want to give it out live on Facebook right now? Because we're live on Facebook. I made a mistake the other day and I did that, and Dame Dash's whole page was watching it. I was like, Lord.
That's all right. So I need, because I know that everyone on here have followers, and I need you to need me. And I don't have a problem with giving you my number and you text me. And one of the things that we do as activists, when we know that we are going to go to a protest that's going to be heavy, we have certain phone numbers that we put on our hand.
That's right.
And that's the person that you call to come get you. So my hand has been full of numbers. And so here is my number for your hand. My number is 240-605-2477. And you ask Sean Patterson Howard, you call me at 4:30 in the morning, I'll be wide awake, just finished walking, just finished juicing, ready to meet the world. You put that number on your hand when you go out protesting, and you know that you could call Auntie Sin anytime. I'll be right there front and center. Make sure that you're all right. And that's what we need to do as adults. We need to make sure that you understand that you are all right and that you have somebody to call. And that's another thing that you need to start putting in your phone. In your phone, response numbers should be.
Sin, did you freeze up?
I also wanted to just touch on again with the youth. I really want to implore the youth to continue to be the voices of this movement, because if we look at the generations above us, some of us forgot what we were really struggling for and the importance of human rights, and how the apparatus of the American government is perpetuating violence across the globe. And we have the power as Black people to change that here in America. A lot of us stepped away from that purpose and we focused, like Ms. Cynthia said, on the almighty dollar. So now we're here fighting for the same rights that our parents fought for, that our grandparents fought for, that our great-grandparents fought for. So when I say that everyone is a leader, I'm not talking about just the people in this room. I'm talking about the people that are watching this right now, who are young and who are of older age. I'm talking about everybody. Realize that you have power within your community. And even if you don't have a large social media following or platform, your platform is your voice and how you use it and how you implore others to do the same. So it's important for us, especially as young people, to, like my brother said, take that first step, take the lead, think about what we're valuing, and as young people, what we're giving our attention to. excuse can't be because we're leaders, we're going to do the digging. No, I implore everybody watching this live to do the digging. Anybody who wants to take a stand for Black people, then know it's your duty to educate yourself on the stand that you're about to take. It's more than just action. So I think that we have to remember that, especially as young people who are carrying this movement right now and who are leading, we can't have this separation of leadership and look to certain people. The last time I checked, it was Martin, Malcolm, Angela, Fred, everybody was a part of what was going on. It wasn't just a few people. So young people, it is important that you remember that. Don't look to somebody else and think they're going to do that. I'm going to focus on this, because then you are also perpetuating the cycle that is plaguing our community right now. We can't make excuses for each other. We have to hold each other in our highest possibility and hold each other accountable.
Thank you so much, Madison. Malcolm put in the chat that he wanted to say something. Malcolm?
Hey, so, usually I'm in the background, but listening to the conversation reminded me of a quote someone said to me many years ago, and it was, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? And that's always stuck with me. And like you said, I'm 29 years old, but I know a couple of people here in this chat, and we have to be leaders. We have to be the ones to set the example. We all have people who look up to us, young, old, our peers and things like that. And if we don't set the table, then we can't allow someone else to set the table. We have to set the table. Mayor, you always said, the head of the table is wherever I sit. And I think as young people, we have to realize that we are in the position for change, and that most of the things that are happening in this nation and in this country are happening because there's 20-something and 30-something-year-olds who are leading the charge. You guys have passed the torch to us, or you're passing the torch to us, and we can't be in a position to drop that. So even as us as millennials and the Gen Z coming up behind us, we have to make sure that we pass the torch down to them as well, because this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. We've been in this for decades, years, centuries, and it's not going to stop now. And here in Mount Vernon, we have a lot of talent. New Rochelle and Yonkers, there's a lot of young talent here. And I definitely agree we need to pull something together, like a youth council or something, like, just organize, and come together, because we all have some really great ideas. And I think if we all put our minds together, we can really accomplish something great. I also want to say hi, Mom, because she just texted me and said she saw me on here. So.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and share your passion and your pain, but also your purpose and your future with us, because you have a great future. And I want you to be encouraged. I want you to know that we have your back, that we do see you, we do hear you, and we want to make sure that you do advance. You don't need our permission, but if there's any way that we can lend our support, please let us know. As elected officials, as adults, as community leaders, we're supposed to be accessible and accountable to you. And so we are here and we're accessible, and we are accountable, and everything doesn't have to be, how do I want to say it? Oftentimes when we go to people and we feel that they're not going to see us. We see you. So if you want to come and you want to have dialogue, let's have the hard conversations. We want to hear what you have to say, and we want to support where you want to go. So we're not on opposite sides of the fence just because we're of a different age. We are really, really in the same place. And it is all about a relay. Life is not a marathon. It's really a marathon of relays. And it's about passing the baton and making sure that everyone is able to run the leg of the race that has been assigned to them. So here we are passing. I have a staple, I don't have a baton, but here next, somebody want to put up a hand and catch it? Anyone want to catch it? Boom, you catching it. So here's the baton, we're passing it. And we want to make sure that we're supporting you in doing it. So y'all all got not next, but now. Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed evening, and keep your passion and keep your fire. Love each and every one of you guys. Take care and have a good night.
Thank you so much. You have
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.